We just built this last time. So we built this part that's kind of light gray, and then this part is the part that we're building right now with trees. The little river that we built, we'll be building a bridge over it, and then like a gazebo.
Yeah, probably. I'm not sure. I think it's the bridge today.
I think so.
That we're going to be building over this part. Something that's pretty impressive about this set is how deep it is. You know, you look at the images of it and you see the little bridge and you don't think, oh wow, that's really deep. You know, there's a whole little section of river there, not just a little narrow bridge.
Yeah. It's there's the bridge is actually in front of the waterfall. And then there's water that comes out further. That's pretty cool. And you don't get that in smaller sets. That kind of.
Looks like TJ Lombardi and the Free Narnian are here.
Hi. Thank you guys for coming. Yeah. All right. Should we get started?
Sure. Did you ask Free Narnian if he wants to?
I did not.
On? Yeah, so Free Narnian, if you want to come on, you certainly can.
You're always welcome.
Yep.
Just stick the stickers up there. Help me remember that's where I put them.
So 16.
Yeah. I'm supposed to open 16 and 17 at the same time.
Oh, interesting. You're doing pretty good, TJ.
Yeah. Today was a Twitter day.
It was a good Twitter day. I thought it was good.
Yeah. There were good conversations going on.
Yep.
Would you like to start?
Sure.
You can do the first couple pages since this is only a half page.
Sure.
I did a lot last time. You were doing a lot.
So Michael and TJ, if you walked away, you didn't really miss a whole lot. I basically just I retweeted Richard's post about like the Iron Age pie.
Yeah.
Just with some of my comments about Larry Correa, because since that's who he was talking about. Just kind of iterating some of the issues that we had with Correa before.
And kind of pointing out what I did last night on stream, which was just that. It's not, we should keep in mind that not everybody has the same philosophy as us, even if they are like pro-indie, anti-mainstream, anti-woke, you know.
Yeah. And you know, it got some good engagement. Nothing really super surprising, nothing super controversial. Some arguments were deployed that I've heard before, so nothing
Yeah.
Did this camera? Oh,
Sorry, I may have bumped it.
Yeah. Nothing surprising or anything, so
yeah,
not a big deal. I feel like the first time that we kind of ran into this stuff, it was like kind of a big surprise. It's one of those things where you are Free Narnian is here if you want to put
Oh,
on.
I'm sorry.
It's one of those things where you kind of encounter this opinion that's so weird that you kind of have to take a couple steps back and see if you're missing anything, right? And the opinion I'm talking about is, you know, the idea that these people kind of look down on hobbyists and think that, like, they think it's sort of unthinkable that people would want to write and publish without having money as a primary concern.
Yeah. And like, we are not,
but that's kind of our bread and butter.
Yeah.
So we're kind of so cool with that idea that it was a little shocking at first to sort of hear that people don't agree with that.
Yeah. But like, it's not just that we don't have money as our primary like goal, but also that we're okay with making money.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It would be great if we were successful monetarily, but that's not like the be all end all of what we're trying to do. Yeah. And that is what seems to break people's brains.
Yep.
This is kind of an interesting little build. I'm assuming this is a table of some sort, but it's built with faucet pieces, right?
Yeah. Those are.
You can see that.
Yeah.
Elves are very advanced and they have indoor plumbing.
Yeah, I don't know. There's been some other. This is a good example of nice part usage. Maybe not the most nice, because that's actually something that's done quite a bit. They'll use these for torches and stuff too. Yeah. Torch bases.
Yeah, I just haven't seen. We've done a couple of tables, benches and things, and I haven't seen that particular design yet. Free Narnian, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you guys?
Great. You were just on last night.
Yes, and always happy to come back to #1 stream.
Hi to Christopher Menkhaus. Sure. And Crate Span. And I don't know if I said hi to David. Said hi to TJ Lombardi and Michael Kane. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Yeah, people on Twitter get very upset about things that are strange to me, in my opinion. Like, people get very, very impassioned about. I mean, I don't know. Far be it from me to criticize other people in that way, but the literal outrage that people have over like business disagreements is interesting, or what amounts to a business disagreement, or like an approach to business.
Yeah, it's hard for me to understand, because I think even if I was trying to make money, if I was like a professional indie author or whatever, I don't think I would begrudge hobbyists. And maybe that's because I don't believe. I think a lot of people sort of ascribe to this idea that there's like a quality crisis. I think what's his face was using that term. There's like a quality crisis because of hobbyists that is hurting people. So like if you're a professional indie author, you are concerned about hobbyists causing this quality crisis. I don't believe that exists. So I don't quite get where they're coming from. But
yeah, it's an interesting line of thought. But like, I guess, I don't know. I'm a gamer, right? So like, I would analogize it to like, do people who make mods for games in their spare time make it more difficult for indie developers to make and sell their own games?
Yeah.
Like is that? It seems like I don't know. Like, again, far be it from me. I'm certainly no expert on running businesses, but I don't know if it's that simple. That it might be a little bit more fluid than that.
I think another issue I have is, there's sort of two sides. Oh, nice. Is that a little lantern?
Little lantern.
There's sort of two sides to things. There's like the problem, and then what is an actual solution. And I think some of these guys, are sort of, they see the solution as we have to control who can publish, right? I think the pulp rev people kind of have that idea too. They want to build institutions that control what gets published. Whereas I don't really think that's possible. So, we're advocating for promoting, the solution being active promotion of the good stuff, not trying to suppress the bad stuff. Another analogous situation to that is AI art. I am really not a big fan of AI art, but I think it's foolish to think that it could be sort of banned at this point. So you just have to find people who agree, who share your opinions about it, and stick with those people.
Yeah, no, for sure. I forget, it was either you or Katie who said that like we just want to make cool things and promote other people who make cool things, and like
Yep.
that's the point of all of this, right? That's the point of effort towards, we like imaginative fun stuff, and yeah, for me, I think that's kind of why we get along as well as we do, is that I'm in that boat with you. I mean, that's how I've always looked at it.
Yeah.
That's how I think of it. And so
Yeah.
for me, it's just kind of obvious. And so I get very befuddled when I see people very passionately with this other agenda. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. Again, most of these individuals that are causing like the big flare-ups on Twitter, I literally don't know who they are.
Yeah.
I'm not that in the loop. And I'm not even saying that as like a flex. Like I just literally I haven't been paying attention. So
yeah.
But I mean, this is just my observation on human nature in general, that people like clicks, and people like to form factions and little actually C.S. Lewis he gave a whole talk on this to Oxford students about the inner ring, about being in the in group of something, and how this is just kind of just par for the course of being human.
Yeah. Right. And believe it or not, my intention with when I do choose, because I'm kind of in the same boat where I kind of like not having drama too. So I try to think about what it's going to accomplish if I engage in something. And honestly, the tweet about that I did this morning, I didn't really expect to take off like it did. But my goal with that stuff, is not to is honestly not to like alienate other people or to call the out group bad or anything, or even to try to argue with people. It's more just to send up signals to try to find people who kind of feel the same way that we do. And that's what we were trying to do in our initial big spat with Larry, which people thought that makes us grifters to say that we're hoping to get engagement on our YouTube channel out of it. But it wasn't drama for the sake of drama. It was drama with the goal of sort of explaining the position of our group by contrast to somebody else. Right. And in all of this, like I've never said anything like I think Larry's a bad author, or I think Declan is a bad author, or I don't think that, I've never said I don't think they should be publishing, or I've never even said I don't think they should be giving people writing advice. Like, I mean, I don't follow them, so I don't know what they're saying, but I don't care. It's not about that. It's about like, for us, the idea that, we love hobbyist authors, and we want to, we don't want to see them go away. We want to promote them.
Yeah. TJ Lombardi says, yes, indie tribalism. Let's all get Iron Age tattoos.
Yeah, that's the solution.
Yeah, we need a uniform.
Yeah.
And an anthem, secret handshakes, all of it. I mean, at the end of the day, for me, like, I mean, guys, isn't life cruel enough? Right? Doesn't the day-to-day existence that we all have to deal with have enough thorns that perhaps that we can, abstain from freaking out over things on the internet. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that your faction is somehow simultaneously grifter and the starry-eyed, naive.
Hugfest.
Yeah, both at the same time.
Yeah. We're somehow grifters. We're somehow like making money. Because I mean, grifting is like stealing, right? Like you're gaining something. Like we're gaining something somehow.
Yeah,
but
grift
also,
I always thought was like, that's like false snake oil salesman, right? Like buy my course and your life will improve, right? Like something like that.
Yeah.
I can tell you, it would be way more financially lucrative for me to basically stay off Twitter and try to find some kind of like machine learning side hustle than derp around on Twitter. So
yeah, or selling a lifestyle course.
Yeah. Well, honestly, even that. I mean, I think there's a lot more money in courses.
No, literally, if you want to grift, now don't do this because I am against con artists. But just for the sake of speculation, if you want to grift, the grift is dating advice. That's always the number one marketable. If you want to, right, say a bizarre and outlandish things as dating advice and people will pay you for it, and it baffles me. But
there's a lot of plausible deniability too. How can I be sued when you're the one who screwed it up?
yeah, right. Or you preface, well, this in my experience, and then you can just say anything. And
every now and then I try to make some tweet about kind of red pill manosphere type stuff, because it is actually something I'm quite interested in, but the discourse is actually just really stupid in general, and there's not a whole lot to say about it. So I don't. The thing that's happening now is that all of these, basically a lot of women have picked up the manosphere torch, and they're the big, they're the most visible carriers of it now. A lot of the male manosphere people, I think, have just kind of crossed into the line of being like stupid caricatures of what they were 10 years ago. Did you ever read any manosphere stuff, Free Narnian?
I don't think so. I never, like, what, did I buy anyone's books or anything?
Well, like, did you ever read any, like, back in the day? It was all blogs. It was blogs and kind of early Twitter, like around 2000. Like I kind of actually found this whole scene sort of through the manosphere, actually. First around like 2012, and then in like 2016.
Yeah, I think I read a couple. I might have read a couple of articles back in the day, or blog posts rather. But nothing that I could say. It's not something that I followed very closely. Just I'll because with everything I try to prevent myself from being very impressionable.
Yeah.
Especially from receiving new ideas and stuff. But so yeah, I was always kind of aware of like the main theme and stuff, and I've always been kind of more of I just totally lost my train of thought. I apologize.
No problem.
No, I'm more interested in it now from like a sociological perspective, where like it's interesting to me to see how people deal with these ideas. I mean, I get the manosphere project at the beginning was just like, I think it was just a criticism of the way dating worked, right? Dating and marriage.
Yeah. Well, there was a couple aspects to it. There was movements that kind of went back as far as like the early 2000s, mid 90s, I think. Yeah, Great Spain. What manosphere? Yes, Lewis and Kierkegaard it is. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. There we go. We've solved it. Thank you, Great Spain.
there were guys kind of going back, I think it was like early 2000s, maybe even mid 90s, that they were like pickup artists, so like here's these crazy things that you do to pull girls in nightclubs and sleep with as many women as possible.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, that never appealed to me.
No, but what was kind of interesting about it is that there were people who sort of realized that despite their craziness, there was some truth to what they were doing. And like it or not, if like your goal is sleeping with women and you're basically out there 7 days a week trying to sleep with as many women as possible, you're probably going to learn some things like kind of borderline scientifically about what is involved in sleeping with women. And as it turns out that all those things are like the total opposite of all of the dating advice that your mom and your grandma and your pastor ever said. And then
right, but
and then later it kind of turned into a political thing too. So a lot of people were really key with like getting Trump elected and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different sides to it.
Yeah, it was an interesting phenomenon. But I mean, kind of at the core of it, the way I saw it was that yes, people can be manipulated in social situations. I've been bearing witness to that the entire time I've been able to be cognizant of it, So to me, it was like I get why some of like what they said was very earth-shattering to people who maybe didn't think about it. But to me, I've always been kind of a more heady type person who just noticed stuff like that, and so I mean, it's like discovering someone saying, well, propaganda is very effective in shaping people's worldviews, and it's like, yes, I've noticed.
Well, and it's and the thing I think that was sort of appealing about the manosphere, and what I found sort of appealing about it, is that it's kind of saying the opposite of what you're hearing from other people, but it offers kind of a framework of understanding how the world works that actually has real explanatory power and is actually useful. And then the other thing about it is, there's sort of charitable and uncharitable ways to talk about it, right? So, I'm not interested in defending anybody in particular in the manosphere, but there were some people that I used to read that were like Christians and kind of were more kind of talking about the sociological aspects of it and how it interacted with like church teaching about relationships and stuff like that. And I think what those people would say would be, it's not about manipulating people. It's more just about like being charismatic and attractive, right? You can say trying to behave a certain way is manipulative, or you can say like, look, your sort of default way that you're being is just not attractive, and you can be a better version of yourself.
Like an example would be sort of in the sort of overall niceness that church people teach. You can guide young men into being not attractive. Too nice, wishy-washy. Kind of like seeking the attention of women in a way that is
creepy.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that can be manipulative too, right? It can go both extremes can be manipulative. Right. I think manosphere people will kind of sort of paint a picture of, oh, now I've done it. Manosphere people will kind of paint a picture of sort of blue-pilled people as being kind of like creepy and manipulative and entitled, like, oh, if I'm nice, then women should like me. Why don't they? That kind of view. All right, I'm gonna have to take this apart.
Oh no.
So there's kind of two sides to it.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, as you say, in recent times, the caricatures that people have become are very. It's great fun to mock them. I know,
Yeah.
it's sarcastically said that, or what's the joke that everyone says now, like the hyperbolic joke that if your girlfriend drives, she's driving to another guy's house because she's totally cheating on you.
Yeah.
By my course, and right.
Yo.
But yeah, no, but there was. I mean, yeah, I think anything that, yeah, I do think of like a valid criticism is that I think in our culture people do, or at least used to a greater degree than now, that there was definitely a huge um push to turn people into quote unquote nice guys, and to a detrimental degree, right? To a point where people,
Mm-hmm.
right, right, as you say, where young men were perhaps not being the best version of themselves, which I do think
Yeah.
is a problem. And yeah, and so anything that encourages people to self-improve.
Yeah. And you can sort of take, again, kind of an example of two sides of it. You could sort of look at manosphere advice about, like sort of being purposefully mean to women to try to get them to be attracted to you. Like maybe that's not good. But another way to look at it would be, if you believe something, you should stand up for yourself, and you shouldn't just capitulate to somebody just because she's a woman, or you need to be nice, right?
Right.
And people will respect that, right? If you really believe something and you're consistent and everything, then people will respect you for maybe being a little bit unpleasant when you feel strongly about something, right? And it's so sad that has to be taught.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Right.
I guess that's kind of why, like, it was very strange to me because, like, I'm not trying to be boastful, but I never really had that problem
Yeah.
where, like, I was okay growing up to go against the grain, and, like, even right, even, to people that were like the popular kids in school, or like the popular, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm comfortable, you know, not being in for the sake of me, staying true to what I think, how I want to
Mm-hmm.
be. Um, so I was, right, again. So like these revelatory type things didn't really have a lot of potency with me, because I'm like, well, I've never felt compelled to defer to other people for the sake of,
Yeah.
um but that is very much our culture, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I certainly have,
Yeah.
and
Well,
we were talking about earlier how, people really, and I can't tell. I don't know if it's gotten worse or if it's always been this way in some form. I suppose it has, but people really like just bludgeoning others into
mm-hmm.
conformity, and it's I I I don't like it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe I think the novelty of our time is that people are it's turned into something meritorious rather than something perhaps that, like, we can see that this is just something that happens, but now people do it conscientiously.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you kind of like reference, like, yeah, people nag, people, right, make a
Mm-hmm.
virtue out of bullying, um,
Yep.
Yeah.
which very
Trolling,
quick. Yeah,
right?
right. Yeah, well, trolling is a little bit different because trolling isn't necessarily designed. I guess it could be, but I don't think it's necessarily meant to force someone into conformity as much as it is just to,
Screw with people.
yeah, frustrate them for your own amusement, which
Yeah.
isn't, you're right, the nicest thing to do, but it's not exactly the same as, like, I'm going out of my way to pressure you into altering how you live your life.
Mm-hmm.
Which, of course, again, people might interpret what I'm saying the wrong way. I'm not saying this in cases where it's like someone is actually doing something really harmful or
no,
morally bad, but like people, you see, people will do it over pop cultural stuff, right? I mean, you have to have this opinion about, hobbies or anything like that, and if you don't, I'm going to like say extremely bizarre, personally derogatory things to you.
Yeah. Particularly about entertainment, I feel like.
Yes.
At least in my experience, which I suppose I'm going out of my way to look for that kind of thing, but people talking about that kind of thing. So Doug Wise says the novelty could be that the location of the conformity is at the leading edge of avant-garde socio-political views instead of around a slowly moving Overton peephole.
Yeah. Hi,
Doug. I think that's the first time I've seen you in the chat today. Well, maybe not. No, I've seen you. And hi to John Douglas.
Yeah. No, it's that makes sense. I think when I was talking about trolling, I was kind of thinking about there's this, and we've talked a lot about in our Matt Walsh discussions, we've talked a lot about, like what is trolling? If we're going to say, if you're going to say something outlandish or say something and then say, oh, I was just trolling, like what is trolling, right? Something that some of the Manosphere guys used to talk about is something called agree and amplify, which I think there isn't as much of a cultural awareness of what it is as much as there is about negging. Negging kind of is something that is sort of people kind of normies know about negging. Agree and amplify is kind of the idea that when a woman is sort of testing you, that instead of trying to like justify yourself or explain yourself, you just kind of agree with her stupid opinion and take it up a few notches to sort of show how dumb it is, right? And that would be kind of like the type of trolling that we've talked about, where maybe you
want to put it in its spot.
You say something that's more like the opposite of what you mean, rather than an exaggerated version of something that you actually believe. So you're sort of showing the silliness of somebody else's position by presenting an amplified version of it back at them. And that, that's a useful, in my opinion, that's a really useful rhetorical tool, right? Probably wears out its welcome pretty quick if you do it all the time. But...
Probably. And it also probably depends on the reasonableness of the person you're using it against, because they might just agree with you unironically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yikes. Well, the classic Manosphere example, that, and they have all these great terminology for this stuff. So, the idea is like when a woman kind of tests you with these questions that don't have any right answer, that's called a shit test. So like the classic one is, do these pants, she asks you with kind of a tearful look on her face, do these pants make my butt look fat, right? And the idea is that's kind of a lose-lose situation for you, because if they do make her butt look fat and you say yes, that she doesn't want to hear that. And if you say no, you're kind of sort of playing into her frame where she's trying to, she's kind of manipulating you into complimenting her. So the right answer is you say, yeah, they make your butt look huge, and if, you could use a Trump voice or whatever, just to kind of, and in that, sort of, if you were thinking about what would the charitable interpretation of that is.
Do you mind if I do this page, since this page?
Yeah, go ahead. You're sort of like, you're sort of playing along with her game, right? You're dismissing her. You're not saying that she's wrong to ask. You're not saying that the pants do make her butt look fat. You're not giving into her fishing for or trying to manipulate you into complimenting her. And it's like a nice response, right? So that's kind of an example. I think maybe
and it denies her like the payoff of a legitimate conversation.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, if you wanted a real answer, like you just don't ask those kinds of questions, right? Like,
yeah.
In that way, if you're actually concerned about something.
Yeah, Doug says at some point in the last decade, trolling became I was overextended in my mott instead of this is the dumb lens you look through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think for things you brought up with like the Matt Walsh stuff is like he's not joking in essence when he attacks certain things. Right. What was the big infamous thing that he did? Oh, that the anime is satanic, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's like, right, like, okay, so the joke is, the exaggerated thing is saying it's satanic, but like in essence, he does believe it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like it's not. I don't know. I always thought of trolling. I come from a different era of internet culture, and maybe right. So like, like to me, trolling was always like nonsense, you know, right? Like actual just nonsense, like what my good friend Bandit Thorin does, right? You know, like I
shit posting.
Yeah, like this is just outlandish and absurd for it, right? Like stuff that makes you just want to turn off your computer, and right. So that's but yeah, it's certainly not. I don't think. I don't know that anyone would find it acceptable, right? Or like Walsh's definition of like, I was just kidding, but I actually do really mean that you're bad people for XYZ, right? You know, like that's not a troll. That's just you being.
That's just your opinion. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, you're not trolling. You're just being you're being inflammatory with what you actually believe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an exaggerated version of your actual opinion.
Yeah.
You know, in the original clip, the original anime satanic clip, even the way he says satanic, it's like I have no problem believing that he actually meant that. I mean, satanic is a word that a lot of people use to just mean something that's kind of inappropriate or, you know, got the, you know, he tried to play it into like, oh yeah, you know, it's like he tried to sort of shift the definition of satanic to be like the Satanism, occult, human sacrifice kind of definition. But, you know, we as Christians, we can use satanic in a way that just means, you know, worldly or
not churchy,
or kind of not appropriate or, you know, bad motives behind it or, yeah, just not good, not clear communication and not really trolling.
Oh, you already did this.
Yeah. Nope. Oh yeah. I was passing it off for the second page.
Oh, we've been doing flip.
Yeah, I know. I passed off though because that's starting a new construction.
Could you take that apart for me?
Yeah. This was finishing this unit.
Okay. Sorry.
I was laughing at Crate's brain saying Bandit Thorin is a psychological warfare criminal.
There's a troll.
I respectfully, yeah, right. No, that's a troll, right? No, and of course, I respectfully disagree. I think he is a misunderstood genius. I think he is the tragic figure of the modern age, and that history will vindicate him He's unappreciated in his time. We don't understand. We just don't understand. But one day, in a more advanced culture, he'll be looked back on as a luminary.
Well, some of his takes are like he does the occasional thing about entertainment and indie books and stuff that I'm like, and then those are always the ones that I miss somehow.
Yeah.
I find them days later, but one's about drinking pee, top of the line. I was like, why am I seeing this on my feed?
I have him muted. Occasionally I'll go look and like if Free Narnian retweets something, I'll engage with it a little bit, but I think he did one once. I forget what it was. That I interacted with.
No, yeah, he'll go through days where he just posts like thoughtful things about a book that he's reading at the time.
Yeah.
And then an hour later, you'll have like,
why are you doing this to me? Like, I'll spend some time in one of his threads about a book, and then all of a sudden, my timeline is filled with other things that he's posted. I was late to the thing that he posted about books, as I said. So it's not like I can really comment on things like that because everybody's already said what they're going to say. Like, nobody cares what I'm going to say about it.
Yeah, it's a time, but yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not for everyone.
Oh, I'm sorry, babe. I started.
No, that's fine. You can keep going.
Okay. Sorry. I was talking and moving at the same time.
I think that piece is going to go diagonally in here.
Ooh.
I'm also a little bit distrusting of Manlet Thorin because he interacts a lot with the anti-Comicsgate people. So, and I really like Comicsgate, so I'm always a little bit suspicious of those people. Nice.
All right.
So there's probably going to be an arch that goes on. Nice.
Very nice.
Oh, and there's some torches. You want to make one of the torches? There's two of them, right?
Yep.
What are some other good Twitter accounts like Manlet Thorin that are just kind of inexplicable, sort of like shit posting, genre defying?
A lot of them have names that it's difficult to say aloud.
Oh.
No, there's who's these other guys? I forget his actual name. His his hand. Yeah. Crane's friend Simp Neelix.
Yeah,
that's definitely one.
And they're like racist data, and there's like a based Arwen, right? And Punished Frodo. That was a good account. I followed him for a while.
What happened to him?
Oh, I think he probably gave up. He got banned.
He got banned so many times. And over again.
There's the Otter. I think his actual handle is @mywife'sboyfriend.
Oh no!
That's right. Yeah. He's Yeah, he was the one. I think I don't know if he started it or if he's the one that just popularized it. But like the that that the otters that like the otters with these goofy faces are like going around asking for feet pics of of
Oh, okay. Yeah, I might have run into that account. Oh, look at that. So that piece fits right in there. Oh, no, actually it does. How did that? Oh, it does. It does lock in. Because that's one of those pieces that's got the angle to it.
Oh.
I was like, how did that angle end up there? But it did. I just think it's funny some of the names that people come up with for their Twitter accounts.
Well, you see, I come from where I came of age era of the internet. Like that was all kind of standard.
Yeah.
Like everyone's Xbox Live gamer tag was just something absurd.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know is it your turn?
No, you why don't you do this page and then
pass it over?
Yeah. Then I can start on that.
Yeah. Everything was either, elite, right? 1337 type cool elite speak or something absurd, and I feel like that tradition lives on with these insane Twitter accounts. Who I say, as I have said, my friend, the people I'm friends with on Twitter are all my merry band of monsters, mutants, and madmen.
Mm-hmm.
Who
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here you are, my love.
Yeah, this is really, really cool. All of this extra stuff, I think, is going to hold. It might hold tools, or it's just kind of making sort of like root greebling around this fireplace.
We're making a little room.
Yeah, it's the forge.
Yeah, I know it, but it's like a big room, right?
Yeah, it's big. A lot of space in there. What's the size of this? This is one end of this stuff.
Cratesbane says Xbox Live gamer tags are better than millennial baby names.
Very true. Even with numbers and underscores.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody gives Elon Musk a hard time. His kids' names are like that.
We stand amidst the ruins of a far greater age and a much higher culture. So much has been lost.
I personally don't think I don't personally think his kids' names are really that bad, especially that those are the kids that he has with Grimes. Grimes is like a weirdo, and she's an artist. And if you're a weirdo artist, why wouldn't you give your kids weirdo artist names? Like that's a perfectly appropriate thing to do.
What are his kids' names? I can't say that I know.
Well, the first one with Grimes, so he has 3 kids with Grimes now. The first one was conceived conventionally. That's X.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, so he renamed Twitter after his son.
No, he named his kid after his X idea.
Oh.
Because X goes back.
Yeah.
X is the idea that he's had forever.
Oh, so yeah. I don't know much Musk lore.
Yeah. So the first one is X. And then I forget what the second one's named. But then the third one is Technomechanicus.
Isn't the second one have numbers in the name?
They all have numbers. X is like X, but it's the A with the E kind of ligature.
Mm-hmm.
12.
Yeah, I remember that.
What's the second one? I forget.
I don't remember. Doug Wise mentioned SpaceX. Yep. How come he didn't rename it to Twitter X? Or something a little more specific. We could all just keep calling it Twitter and
I call it Twitter X.
Twitter X.
Like that's what it should be, right?
Yeah, well, I can't. It's still difficult for me to think of it as anything other than Twitter because like that. It's just what everyone knows.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you leave off, babe? Okay.
There. Yeah, X Arch A12 is the first one. The next one is Exodark Sidereal Musk, and then the third one is Technomechanicus.
All right.
Technomechanicus. All right. Yeah, that is eccentric, but as you say, what could be more appropriate for the king of eccentrics in our time, right? I mean,
we'd be disappointed with anything else.
yeah, you're right. What's the point of being that rich and famous if you can't be wild like that, I suppose, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel. Oh my gosh, that's right. I was a while ago. There was like a Marvel-a-thon on, and I was watching with some friends, and Iron Man 2 was on, and Elon Musk had a cameo.
Yep.
In Iron Man 2.
Yep.
And we were like this, like how, like none of us could have remembered it at the time, right? From the first time ever seeing, like, I don't remember Elon Musk had a cameo. Like, was he? I couldn't remember if he was that well known at the time, or I guess SpaceX has been around for a while, right? Or at least like in the popular imagination. I can't.
Yeah, Iron Man 2 was 2010. I think probably I really only became aware of Elon Musk maybe in like 2012 because I remember people at my job talking about him. Because he was always doing tech stuff. I didn't really have a very good impression of him for a long time. Because he would just kind of like say a lot of stuff and not really do anything. Which, I mean, he's still doing, to be fair, but
right. John Douglas asked how far I was into Hydra's Wake, and the answer is I have not even cracked it open. I have it. Had it. Oh, it's over there. But I'm currently on page 2 or 3 of 2 books and have the very strong intention to drop both of them and beta read a different book completely. And then sooner or later, I'll get to Hydra's Wake.
What is Hydra's Wake?
That's the next book club book.
Who is that by?
Hydra's Wake.
I'm just doing this completely wrong.
Daniel Jones. I don't think he's an Iron Ager.
Nice.
By
association.
Association or self anointing.
That's good. I'm glad that you guys are kind of reading outside of those circles. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I would just want to do fun stuff.
Yeah. All right.
John says he's not Iron Age. He just happened to have his book.
It sounds like something I'd be interested in.
The cover is amazing.
You can put these arches on the inside too.
Oh,
okay. Hydra, that counts as a sea monster in most milieus. So I'm there.
Well, this one has a airship on the cover too. So I'm looking forward to cracking it open.
Airship. Now that would definitely help in a fight with a Hydra.
Not one of this size. Here's the cover.
Okay. Okay. Yes, that's a tad bigger than the one Hercules fought.
Yeah. So I have every confidence I will have it read by the time it's time to discuss it. I just haven't yet. Okay. Where'd you leave off, babe?
This
page?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to split it up because I did some stuff and then you can do some stuff.
Fun.
And I think that's going to be the end of this page. Did you put the arches on the inside?
I did, yeah.
I'm just trying to split it up when it makes sense.
Yeah.
So, you want to do another bag after this?
Sure.
And then we'll be done after that.
Sounds good to me. Is that right? That doesn't look right.
Are you using the right size?
Yes. It just doesn't cross in the picture here like this. I think it's just supposed to be angled.
Is that? Oh yeah, that's what it is. It's angled. This one is supposed to be angled out. I was staring at that trying to figure out what the picture meant because it's kind of hard to see.
Yeah,
right.
I think
it's just angled out
like that.
Yeah, because it's kind of
Yeah. Okay. Now, I think that's all there was for me to do on that page.
Okay.
But that's not usually a leftover piece. That goes on the top here somewhere. Nope.
In there?
Nope. That's what I was thinking, but
well, it's a different piece that goes in there. Now you've done it.
No, I have
So
not.
somewhere where two.
No, that's supposed to be like that. It's.
Oh.
But I don't know about that piece.
Right at the beginning, maybe. It's compelling content.
Sorry, guys.
Are you just looking in the boxes?
Yeah, I was just looking in the boxes.
Did you see one at all?
No. Okay, let's try to go through it again.
John Douglas made a comment about the prose of Hydra's Wake, saying it's normie prose.
Oh, present tense.
And tell instead of show. You know, I have to confess, perhaps my amateur status here. But like, I'm not sure exactly what. I feel like maybe people mean different things by show, don't tell, when it comes to writing, because I feel like I've seen people like use the same works both in like as examples and repudiations of the show don't tell rule. So is like showing as opposed to telling like not having purple prose or being overly descriptive, or is it the other way around?
It's not really so much the level of description in my understanding. It's more about kind of how you describe things. And
it usually has more to do with action, I think.
Yeah, in my opinion, you can easily end up being more wordy with show just because it can take more words to show. So like the classic example is like you wouldn't write he was angry. You would write some thing that he did that you could see that showed that he was angry.
Oh, okay.
Right. So like he clenched his fists, or he furrowed his brow, or he gestured with the knife, or and like maybe to a lesser degree, like, instead of saying like instead of saying like threateningly or menacingly, like you wouldn't say he gestured menacingly, you would say he poked his finger as if it were a dagger or something. I don't know.
Right.
I think the problem, and so this is rare writing advice from me that you should probably not listen to, but the problem is when a lot of things are just really clean and, in my opinion, sort of on voice to just say, and it really becomes awkward when you try to show them, right? So like you could say she had red hair or her hair was red. If you are taking it to an extreme, if you're trying to show that, then you can't just say it, you have to give her some action. Yeah. Or you have to give the thing some action. And it's like, you can, if you want to like just describe somebody's outfit, it can very easily turn into like their pieces of clothing flapping all around and really awkward words.
Her hair moving and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the criticism of that is like that people say that book writers are they're trying too hard to write movies.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's too visually oriented rather than
That's another criticism that I struggle with a little bit, because I think, I don't know, to me visual qualities is just like it's like the most important, in my opinion, it's like the most important, most information rich sense we have. You know, you don't want to ignore it, but you know, also like I would probably be pretty turned off of a book that spent as much time describing smells and tastes as much as how things looked.
Yeah.
It could seem really like sensual.
Yeah.
If you emphasize other senses too much.
This page and this page seem like a good set, so passing it over.
And you might run afoul of the head movies thing if you show too much emphasis, right? Because instead of just telling things and letting the reader build a picture in their head, you're actually kind of orchestrating this. You're like doing all this cinematography.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because I'm the fiction that I'm working with right now, and I'll probably actually put that as Coal of Atlantis from Robert E. Howard. And this is something I think about while reading him, is like, I don't know if this fits into the show or tell like school of thought, because he's very vivid with his language, but he's very efficient at the same time. And so, right, like he doesn't like, it's not very drawn out. Things happen very quickly and they're described very quickly, but he is just very precise with his word choice. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Maybe that's a bad example, because Howard is just a very unique, like iconic author. Perhaps he sits alone.
I just don't care either way until it becomes something that takes me out of the story. So like if I'm not engaged with the characters, or the like the plot questions aren't strong enough, then that kind of thing is going to bother me. But if they're what you looking for?
That's not anything in particular.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
like a compelling idea covers over a multitude of sins.
Yeah.
If your plot is just not interesting or not unique, or you don't have a strong hook. Kind of, I think maybe you were kind of saying something like this about Howard. He maybe uses a lot of words, but things are happening quickly in his stories, so it works. If you're writing a story where nothing happened, then people, you might not be able to get away with going on about things so much.
Yeah.
No, that's true. Actually, you showed Kahuna's comment about unflattering descriptions.
Yeah.
Actually, a description that I still remember after I read it years and years ago, but something that I remember very well is the introduction of the main character in The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand is where she says that Howard Rourke's hair wasn't blonde or red, but exactly the color of a ripe pumpkin. And
Nice.
like I think of you just think of like this very like aggressive shade of orange like immediately, and so you remember it, that sticks in your mind's eye for the whole rest of the book, and it's something I feel like is kind of in that vein, because
Yeah.
a pumpkin is not a flattering fruit, right? Like
Right.
that's
It's not cool.
yeah, that's not exactly an elegant natural thing to think of. But actually, I remember of a book that I read, kind of like what you're saying about like an engaging plot, is that there's this book that I found that I was very excited about off of like the cover alone. The title is Mecha Samurai Empire.
Nice.
And it had a very exciting premise of being this alt history of Japanese occupied West Coast. It's like a Man in the High Castle type scenario where Japan won World War II and they've occupied the West Coast, but they have crazy sci-fi technology like mecha suits. And like, wow, what an exciting premise, right? And then I get into it, and like the book is like, I guess I don't watch a lot of anime, but I know enough of the tropes, and like the main character, it's a very what I can say is like an anime premise, because it's about this high school kid, and the setting loses all of its steam because it's just focused so much on this kid and his internal monologue about things that I found just very unengaging. Like, I'm sorry, like I just can't care to see where this goes, because this person and his unending thoughts about things are so uninteresting. And like it'll go and like spends like a chapter talking about like the video games he likes to play.
What?
And I'm like,
Oh, yuck.
like I could play a video game right now instead of reading this book, and I'd be more entertained. I don't want to read about what the fictional guy entertains himself with. I want him to be the one that's entertaining me. Like what's the point of building this crazy sci-fi world if your main character is only going to be the most mundane things in it?
That's too bad.
Yeah, I think that the prevalence of sort of that isekai make an excuse to have
what did you do?
This?
Yeah.
Oh.
Now you've done it.
My finger's too fat to fit in there. Wake up, Remy.
Well, actually, I suppose it would be different if it was like an anime, right? In a visual medium, that like something really slow paced and mundane would be better, because you can enjoy the visual art of it all, right? And so like someone slowly going about their day in a sci-fi environment, just doing things, could be interesting to watch, but it's not necessarily something that's interesting to read.
Yeah, I started and then quit a couple of mangas that were like that. One was the that time I reincarnated as a slime. I picked that one up because it had a dragon on the back cover, and that just really really disappointed.
You bought several of those.
I bought several of them.
Then you got rid of them all, I think.
I have them upstairs in a box to get rid of. Yes. Like the premise is kind of cool, right? Like somebody working their way up in like power level to become like a very, very strong monster as an unassuming low level monster, you know? But what ended up happening was he gained the ability to look like a human and then went around looking like a human, well, like a sort of fantasy biped, and then started making monster civilization. It's like, okay, now we're building a modern city, right? Okay. Why am I reading this?
I think there's a big problem that I think a lot of us would agree on is this. Actually, Kate, we were tweeting about this earlier today. This drive to make things relatable, quote unquote, hashtag relatable, where I said superhero movies where the superpowers take a backseat to the relatable. It's like, this is like the most horrible thing I've ever heard in my right? Like, what, we don't want that. We want things that are fun and interesting and are different.
Right.
Like it's just baffling to me. This like antipathy towards imagination.
Yeah.
What really matters, and like it never was a thing that people had to be self-aware of back. Like somehow, in the '60s, they were able to come up with a character called Peter Parker, who was a high school student that people related to without putting the fact that he was Spider-Man in the back seat of his comic books. You know what I'm saying? Like somehow that was accomplished without being this weird and self-aware about it. So like this new trend is so I can't explain it. I don't even know how to describe what it must be that they're thinking that this is a good idea.
Yeah. I almost think that it's already been around. And the reason I think that is because of Hollywood's obsession with remaking the beginning of every superhero, right? Like we have 3 Spider-Mans. Well, more than that now. Right? But it's always, we always have to do it over, right? Like how and instead of just having a superhero who fights bad guys, right? Like
right, yeah. Well, as the one thing I will say for like why what I can appreciate about anime, even though as I said I'm not really a big anime guy myself, but like that they don't seem to really have too much of a problem with that. That that they're more willing to embrace characters that are larger than life and super unique and right and overpowered and stuff like Death Note. I cannot relate remotely to either Light Miyagami or L.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I could relate to L's bad eating habits maybe a little bit, but but they are people. As people, they are so far and beyond what like an average person is like, and that's what makes it interesting. There would be no point for the show to exist if it weren't the story about the cat and mouse game between these two, megalomaniacal geniuses, right?
Yeah.
Like to one up each other.
Well, and you mentioned something, right? With what's his name?
L.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned one of the things that makes that character relatable is his cake eating.
Yeah.
Right.
L has a sweet tooth.
So I mean, it doesn't have to take a lot to make a character likable. You can have like these overpowered characters or really skillful or really cool or whatever, and then all you have to do is just give them a little hobby or a little interest or a little personality quirk or a little moral failing, and then that makes them relatable. You don't need to
go into how they were failed by their mother or something.
Yeah.
Exactly, right.
So
or
the
like
bridge is going in.
Not that anime is a really good example for not going into everybody's backstory and how they were failed by their mother. Very nice. That's really just a simple chunk of bricks. Very nice. That one goes up. Oh, on the front.
Oh,
perfect for a moonlit walk for Aragorn and Arwen.
Yeah. It's got 2 places for people to stand.
Oh,
there's
perfect.
a note that said that the bridge doesn't have any handrails, so to make it safe for minifigures, they put a lot of studs for them to stand on.
Perfect.
Very cute. Okay.
My favorite anime is, of course, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
It's a good one.
That's legit.
That's legit. I think, yeah. No, man, what? How perfect that show came out at the time that it did before a show like it became impossible for something like that to exist.
Yeah.
I mean, what a stroke of luck. I think that is probably one of the gold standards for YA. Because it's so timeless. I remember I watched it actually for the first time all the way through. The first time I saw it all the way through, I was actually in college and I was just like feeling nostalgic for it. And I'm like, this holds up so remarkably well. Like, this is so appealing to me as an adult. This like nice little story, right? Like,
yeah,
it's amazing.
I was in high school. I don't remember when it came out because we had 3 channels and all of them were news. But I was babysitting and saw it on Nickelodeon on their TV.
It was 2005 to 2008 when it came out.
Okay.
And I remember I was in college like in 2010, and I remember people talking about how good it was.
Yeah. It was all out when I saw it for the first time. I went and got it from the library.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to do this page or do you want it back?
Why don't you do that?
Okay.
And then what a disaster Korra was compared to it.
I never saw any of Korra. I
Don't
only
bother.
but everything I know about it I just know from other people's horror stories.
There's definitely some compelling and interesting stuff in there, but it just does not live up to.
Doesn't pay off.
It's kind of interesting to see a more aggressively YA type story set in that world because all the characters are older teenagers versus sort of tweens.
Yeah, that was
young teenagers.
That was probably a good move, because you could do more with that with like slightly more mature type characters, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that I thought was the weirdest about it was the technological jump in the whole setting.
Yeah. They really sort of destroyed the aesthetic of of the world from Avatar.
That's really satisfying piece right there.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah, it, and I don't think they executed the look of it. Some of it looks good, but a lot of it just looks maybe more generic than The Last Airbender.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I think in one of the seasons, the antagonist faction is like a technologically advanced non-bender group, right? Like
Well, they're metal benders.
There's
right?
metal benders, and then there's the like anti-benders political faction.
Who builds the giant robot? There's somebody that builds this giant robot.
Oh, the metal benders build a giant robot. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of silly.
Yeah, again, like it's like this doesn't feel like, I don't know. And it's weird that it was like, I mean, it was a generation after The Last Airbender, right? And they achieved the 1920s New York City in the span of like 40 years or something, right? Like that's interesting. I mean, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's very odd.
I mean, kudos for trying to be original, but maybe, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
The points in the show where the original characters show up feel very weird and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel right when you see the original characters, because it's like, you don't belong here anymore. You shouldn't be here, even as an old person.
Similar to a certain infamous trilogy produced by the Walt Disney Corporation.
Those at least felt like Star Wars to a large degree. I guess I still haven't seen Rise of Skywalker, but at least Force Awakens and Last Jedi had the look and feel of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't change it to something radically weird and like visually off-putting or inappropriate.
Force Awakens is I've struggled to articulate this for what, but I feel like The Force Awakens gave me a feeling that like it was a Star Wars themed educational video game. Like it was a Star Wars themed typing instruction thing. Where I felt like I'm waiting for the Star Wars to happen, but I feel like so much of that movie, the Star Wars parts are bottlenecked into like these artificial slowdowns to the plot, and it made me feel like that. Like you have to type the words correctly in elementary school to play a scene from the movie.
Yeah. People hate on The Last Jedi, but my controversial opinion is that The Last Jedi is about 10 times more entertaining and interesting than
what I missed
than Force Awakens.
I feel I'd agree with that.
It's not a good movie. It's not a good movie at all, and it doesn't hold up. But in the theater, I was way more entertained by The Last Jedi than I was by Force Awakens, and I don't even mean I was entertained by it being bad. I thought it was legitimately interesting. I was enjoying watching what happened, and the goofy subversions that were going on were way more interesting than this sort of by the numbers. It's a New Hope again of Force Awakens.
Yeah, The Force Awakens being a remake of A New Hope was its most offensive quality. I mean, that was like, that killed it. I feel like that really killed the chance of the sequel trilogy for being anything good, because like to purposefully submerge yourself into the shadow of your predecessor rather than doing something different, and like it was so easy. It was so easy to just invert the conflict of the original trilogy, right? But they didn't. It's baffling. But yeah, The Last Jedi is more interesting because it's such a beautiful hate letter to Star Wars and people who like Star Wars.
I honestly don't see it as that so much as it's kind of a hate letter to Force Awakens, right? I think the stuff that it does is, and I mean, I'm not arguing that it's good or that it does correct things with the characters, but it really is more about, in my opinion, it's about the writer and director just being frustrated with not having anything interesting to do after The Force Awakens than like trying to stick it to Star Wars fans or something. I didn't have as big of a problem with Luke's character as a lot of people did.
I wasn't wanting him.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I wasn't really put off by Yoda's appearance as much as a lot of other people were. I don't know. I think people really nitpicked Last Jedi a lot and kind of ignored a lot of interesting things that it did. I think that movie gets a lot more hate than it deserves. It's not good, but it's not like, I would say it's a better movie than Force Awakens, if for no other reason than it tries to do something different and be interesting.
I was definitely one of the people that was devastated by the treatment of Luke's character. To see him become this gross hobo, I felt. But as you say, though, I mean, he was set up for that. I mean, right? The fault goes back to The Force Awakens because that's the one where he just quit and became, right. I mean, they set him up as a gross hobo from the start because that was the only way they could reset the setting back to A New Hope. Is that, well, we just got to take Luke out of the picture because, and it's like, why did you do this to us? This didn't need to be. I don't know. I think that it's I don't like talking about it on Twitter because I feel like the Star Wars discourse is exhausted, but my personal opinion is that it kind of there's still a lot of lessons to be learned, I feel like, from this whole phenomenon.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they won't learn any of them.
Yeah, it's too late.
Yeah. I have the uncontroversial opinion. I watched Andor, and I kind of liked it for the most part. I know a lot of people thought it was really boring, but I thought, what I've noticed with a lot of the better things of Disney Star Wars and like better episodes of like The Mandalorian is that I feel like there's really frustrated people in show business that want to write their own science fiction stories, but they have to work within this brand called Star Wars. And so that's why there's just a lot of different stuff, right, coming out of the Disneyverse. And that's how I felt like about Andor. I'm like, this could be a really good science fiction show. It would be even better if it wasn't married to the Star Wars setting, but like this premise of like the beginnings of a rebellion against the regime in space, like
I'm missing a piece, babe.
What
this one, it's kind of a long wedge.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. How did you feel about Solo? That was probably the Disney Star Wars movie that I liked the best, and I think the biggest problem with that movie is that it was a Han Solo movie. Like, you could just have it been about different characters, not have Han and Chewie and Lando in it, but just have a different guy and his different alien sidekick, and it would have been a lot better.
Though that was exactly my thought when I saw the movie. I'm like, this should have just been a new Star Wars character. on a new Star Wars adventure, right? Not an origin story, right? Like, and it would have been fine, really, right? But the fact the movie is weighted down because it's Han Solo, and you have to have ridiculous things like the Imperial officer going, let's see, you're alone, so your last name is Soto.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like,
or the annoying feminist robot, which, you know, people bitch about, but she was annoying and played for laughs in the movie.
Yeah, I
you know,
thought
like
when
all of her dialogue was like almost intentional like Bechdel test breaking, because she was always just talking about men with the other, like when she was talking about with other female characters, they were talking about men, but then they had to make her meld herself into the ship, and that's why the Millennium Falcon is so good. It's because this feminist robot is inside it, you know.
Well, they had to have a way to get rid of all of the characters that they introduced.
Yeah.
Or the with the ending, the big ending, right? That Darth Maul is still alive.
Yeah, that was funny.
I've hated that. Um since that was done on the animated show. I've always thought that was such a stupid idea, that Darth Maul didn't die when he's chopped in half and thrown down like a 50-foot.
Just can't let people die.
Right? Yeah, like I've always thought, but when he gets up and he turns on his lightsaber in the hologram, so that you know that it's Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Right. Like, but yeah, I've that one I've outspoken that the 2D Clone Wars is probably still remains the best third-party Star Wars media, in my opinion.
Oh, look at this. So these little bars go in these clips here to hold this sideways construction in place.
More stairs.
Nice.
Very nice.
All right.
Well, that's the end of 18.
One more bag. We're still in a good stride, right? Yeah, one more bag and then we'll call it good.
Oh, we're doing trees.
Uh-oh.
This will be a boring one. Sorry, guys.
I thought maybe we were going to do the round part at the top because I saw that in this bag. Should we do it? Or should we save
let's do it.
Let's do it.
We'll knock it out. And we don't have to start with it next
We're getting our Star Wars discussion out of the way.
It's a rite of passage.
After this, there's not going to be anything more to say about Star Wars. So.
John Douglas is heading towards bed. Have a good one.
See ya, John.
Thanks for tuning in.
I scared him away with my Last Jedi takes.
Yeah, the magic of that franchise is definitely spent. I don't know. I feel like the only people who watch it are like people who make reaction videos.
Yeah.
At this point. Oh, is that is that Legolas's hair with his ears sticking out?
With his ears sticking out of his hair.
It's that's not incredible. Legolas though. It's the elf who works the forge.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Well.
Right? Yeah.
Must be. I don't know. Let's see. The elf wig is a brand new element for the set, molded in 2 different materials to provide the color for the ears and hair separately.
Nice. It's dual molded. The old ones, they had pieces like this before, but they weren't dual molded. The ears were painted.
I love how they call it a wig.
Yeah, actually, right.
Not the elf hair.
It's a Lego minifigure actor who's playing it.
So that's better. So that implies then you need a Lego Peter Jackson with a camera set and microphones and the.
I'll go grab my elf minifigures from 10 years ago. No.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh, it's shiny.
I do kind of quibble that Peter Jackson decided that all elves have to have really long hair. I feel that's my least favorite element of the elf aesthetic, and I'm an elf defender, but that is the one thing that I.
It's kind of dumb hair too. Like, have you ever watched Fellowship and looked at Elrond's hair? It's like, we'll tie it in a knot, but like a loose knot, so that it's not falling naturally at all.
Yeah,
And
they should have done like some sort of Japanese style or something where like it's done up.
It's like a literal square knot. It drives me nuts every time I watch it. It's the scene with where he and Gandalf are talking prior to the meeting, and Elrond. I just can't get this to focus on. There we go. Maybe almost. And I just want to go over there and be like, just undo that. Just put a bead in it or something. Like, come on.
Always been my favorite element of Warhammer Fantasy Elves is that they all have they have that's their aesthetic. They have the long hair, but it can vanish at a whim when they need to put on their helmets. You can take their helmets on and off, right? And all of a sudden the hair is no longer, it's not a problem. It's Fey power that I cannot comprehend.
A little bit like Gimli's hair here with his helmet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you pass Gimli over here? We can compare.
Yeah.
So here's new Gimli, and here's Gimli from the original Lord of the Rings set. So you can see.
Interesting.
The printing on his helmet is quite different. It's different, multiple different colors on the new one. I kind of like the old one a little bit better, maybe.
Yeah, the old one has actual ridges here, and this looks like it's just printing on the sides.
Yep. And another big difference here is that the original one uses the short fixed legs. The new one uses the mid-sized legs, so they didn't have these mid-sized legs when they did the original set. So they have 3 sizes minifigure legs now. They have the super short fixed ones that they use for kids. They have the sort of medium sized ones they use for teenagers or dwarves, I guess, and then they have the full size ones. So
in the original one, was he like the same size as a Hobbit then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then we'll compare Elf here. So here's Legolas. And you can see he's got pretty much the same kind of style of hair, but it's not dual molded. It's just this yellow, and the ears are painted on. I think these figures, these are from 2012. I think they're really, really attractive figures to this day. Here's Elrond and Galadriel from the White Council fighting the Witch King in Mirkwood.
Oh.
These are also just super attractive figures, in my opinion. Just really awesome.
Is that from a Hobbit set, or was that okay?
Yep. Yeah, it's it was the White Council, and it came with these 2 guys, but I had Gandalf and Saruman from another set, so I put them in it. So here's Gandalf and Saruman from their fight at Orthanc. And then one of my favorite figures and one of Katie's least favorite is the Witch King, and he's got glow in the dark paint, so his head glows in the dark.
It's the most frustrating thing.
And Katie got me this.
I thought I was going crazy.
Yeah, Katie got me this set for my birthday in 2015, right after we were married, and I set it on the bookshelf across from our bed, and she'd see the little glow in the dark head.
But like it wasn't bright enough to see if you look directly at it, you know? So you like kind of looked like to the side, and there's definitely something.
because it gets picked up in your periphery. It's hilarious.
It was creepy, is what it was.
That's great. I have a glow in the dark glass jellyfish ornament that I keep at my desk that has the same effect. So that people that come around in low light are like, what is going? There's like nothing plugged in it over there, is there? It's like no, it's but that's interesting though about the size of dwarf the Hobbit.
Yeah, here's Gandalf versus Frodo here.
You mean
Gimli?
Gimli versus Frodo.
And these are the original.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, they're like the same there.
Yeah. Gimli is super short.
Poor Gimli. Yeah. Yeah, I was very disappointed in the Hobbit portrayal of the battle at Dol Guldur. And it's entirely my own fault for having the wrong set of expectations, I suppose. But no, because one of the first I think we talked a little bit the last time I was on the chill stream that Games Workshop had a Lord of the Rings themed game.
Yep.
And one of the scenarios that actually the first time I had learned about that story that the White Council fought Sauron in Mirkwood, the first time I had really learned that story was through the Games Workshop promotional material that they released a set of figures for that scenario.
Nice.
And the way they did it and the way they portrayed it, I remember vividly in White Dwarf magazine, and I thought it was the coolest thing. I really liked the necromancer figure, like how he looked and stuff, and especially because all the figures that they released were in the aesthetic of the Jackson movies at the time, and even at that time there was just the 3 Lord of the Rings movies, but
yeah,
they would release figures for characters that were only in the books, but they would still keep them looking like they belonged in Jackson's visual interpretation of Middle Earth.
So it was a little bit more subdued than it ended up being in The Hobbit, where they kind of CGI'd and video gamed everything.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the way I don't even remember, does Sauron even show up in that fight?
Well, no, it's not Sauron, it's the Witch King.
Okay, yeah.
Angmar, right? This guy, he basically looks just like how Frodo sees him on Weathertop with the ring on.
Right.
With the crown and the lemon sucking face.
But it's Sauron who's posing as the necromancer in Dol Guldur.
Right.
Canonically.
But
well, in the Hobbit movie, it's the Witch King of Angmar. It's not Sauron.
Right, yeah, that's who they fight in the movie. But in the
Sauron is seen in this sort of like telescoping eye / silhouette at one point.
But I mean, the experts, I call upon you.
The necromancer in Dol Guldur is not Sauron. It's the Witch King of Angmar.
It is?
Yeah.
In
both.
Nuh-uh.
No, because he resurrects the Witch King through necromancy.
Yeah, Sauron's stronghold and base of operations, Dol Guldur, secretly regaining his power as the necromancer.
Yeah.
Sauron was the necromancer. Yeah, but see, that's what I think. But he was only like ghost-like in the Hobbit movie, so it wasn't very clear.
Yeah.
What it was,
Well, they fight the Witch King. Yeah.
Yeah, they fight the Witch King, right? So yeah, that's what made it odd when they should have been fighting Sauron.
I'm trying to find. That does not.
You're trying to find the set?
Yeah, that doesn't look remotely what I remember. That looks way more involved.
Yeah, that's not it. Just search for Hobbit Witch King.
Okay. Lego Hobbit Witch King.
There you go, Witch King battle. That's it right there. Battle of the...
Yep, I see.
Witch King is such a great title. It's such right, like that is one of those things where it's like where Tolkien just nailed it. What a perfect thing to call your villain.
How much is that set going for these days?
$135.49 on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and
it's a great little set.
Yeah, I have no idea why they wouldn't fight the actual necromancer. That makes 0 sense.
I guess it's because they were probably ambivalent about trying to show Sauron as having a kind of body again, which as he does in the books.
Goodness,
right?
Blasphemy.
Yeah.
Like in the book, he isn't a flaming eye. He actually is back in the body because Gollum makes a comment about how he's missing a finger because Gollum actually sees Sauron.
What?
Yeah, there's definitely
what?
There's definitely
stuff
about his actual physical body.
Yeah, he isn't a ghost or like an eye spirit. He is.
They talk about the eye for sure in the books, but it's not. That's the eye isn't like what he is.
Well, he appears as an eye in the Mirror of Galadriel. He can manifest as that, but he actually is the Dark Lord on a dark throne, literally.
Right. Yeah.
Even at the time of the War of the Ring.
And so Doug Wise says in the Hobbit book, did they explicitly even fight? No, it's never even talked about, right? Like
Gandalf shows up and he's like, "Yeah, I was in Mirkwood."
Doing something.
He did he goes off to do stuff and he mentions that they need to avoid.
No, on the last page of the Hobbit, he's literally like, yeah, we were fighting the necromancer in Mirkwood. It's like that's on the last page of the Hobbit.
Yeah. Man, we were running the gambit tonight. We're all
right.
Let's see here. So here's something interesting. I thought that this was an illegal building technique, just to wedge a plate like this in between two studs. They do this for mushrooms here. Do you know about this, babe?
What?
Do you have any sets that do this?
No.
I thought that this was an illegal building technique to just wedge
pieces between.
Yeah.
I don't have anything that does that. No.
Interesting.
Is it not there on the last page?
No, of course it's not on the last page.
Well, maybe like on this page.
The second to last page.
You're just missing it because you don't want it to be there.
Do you know how many times I've read this book? I know it's not on the last page. Okay. Here's what it says about the necromancer.
On the second to last page.
It's not the second to last page. It is. They are in Rivendell, which is not the last page or the second to last page. In this way, it was in this way that he learned where Gandalf had been to, for he overheard the words of the wizard to Elrond. It appeared that Gandalf had been to a great council of the White Wizards, masters of lore and good magic, and that they had at last driven the necromancer from his dark hold in the south of Mirkwood.
Okay. That implies a fight.
Yes.
It also implies multiple white wizards.
It does.
Yes, it does. Interesting. Tolkien retconned himself. As is his right and privilege. I think
I will never fault Tolkien for retconning stuff, since we have Rowling, who basically made up things book to book all the time. Oh, you remember that thing that I offhandedly mentioned in a list of other things? That's really important.
That's part of what makes those books fun, though.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know it. Like that's fun.
Yes.
Okay. More flora.
I think The Hobbit has my favorite Tolkien poem in it. The song that the elves sing to Bilbo when he's coming back. The dragon is withered. I think that's probably my favorite set of Tolkien verse.
They for the cartoon, they use those lines in the song Far Over with Misty Mountains as one of the later verses. It has that same like lilting, sad sound to it. I really
don't remember that.
Really?
Yeah, I'll have to pay attention and watch it again. I'm assuming you guys know the channel Clamavi de Profundis.
Say again?
Clamavi de Profundis. They do no, you haven't heard of them?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Oh my goodness. They do great songs, fantasy songs and Tolkien songs in particular.
Okay.
And they do a great version of The Dragon is Withered. I think it's probably my favorite.
Huh.
No, they're a great channel.
I wonder if it's do you know if it's their own tune or if it's like from the book of that has the tunes to the songs?
Oh.
That would be
I don't know. That would be interesting to know.
I've got the book. I've got like the official songbook that has like composed music for a lot of the poems. It's really not, the music isn't really all that good, in my opinion.
Who's that written by, that music? Because it's pre-movies.
Yeah, it's old. I don't know. This might be more than one different composer.
Yeah,
I'm sure Tolkien had nothing to do with it at all and probably didn't like it.
As a crotchety old man is prone. That's not it. This is it.
You'll have to check it out and see if it's where it comes from. Oh, it looks like they have some covers of like the music from The Hobbit too. Mm-hmm. Like Where There's a Whip, There's a Way. That's from The Hobbit.
My kids love the cartoon version of that song. They sing it every time they come downstairs.
Yeah, down to Goblin Town. You've seen that, right, Free Narnian?
Yeah. The Rankin Bass. I love that.
Yeah, so good.
I love but I think one of the best songs that comes from that movie is Old Fat Spider. The music, I don't think it's actually in the movie.
It's not in the movie, but it's in the soundtrack. Yeah.
But man, the instrumental section of that song is so great, and like you listen to it with some good headphones, and you will feel yourself in like an enchanted forest. It's so good.
But the words don't make any sense. So it's not actually like Tolkien's poetry. It like takes a couple of the insults and makes it like a completely different song out of them.
Yeah, no, it does. But I think it's like what they were going for is just I like the theme of the song is that the spiders are pathetic and not a threat.
Yeah.
And that would be to anger them, right? And make them chase
Sure.
after him.
That's what it said to do. I'm not crazy.
Derp. Okay. And then this goes. What direction does this go?
This
like
this pointing in this direction, yeah. It's like a little telescope.
Yeah, a little satellite dish.
And now we do 4 of these.
Okay, we can each do a couple. We'll go fast.
But yeah, the Rankin Bass Hobbit is great. My only real like gripe with it, and this is just a personal thing, is that the goblins aren't green. And this is my RuneScape chauvinism showing, but I am very adamant that goblins have green skin. And I feel that this should just be a universal law across all medium.
Sure. They're not green at all in the Peter Jackson movies.
No, they're not. Actually, they're weird. In the Jackson Hobbit, they're like this pale color, like they're this maggoty white.
Yeah.
Which
that's because he got flack for making them darker.
Yeah.
Well, they're dark. The Uruk-hai are dark in the Two Towers movie, but I guess are the orcs generally in Jackson's movie like they kind of vary, don't they? Almost from orc to orc, because they all look
They just look dirty.
Yeah, some of them are more like pale. Some of them are more gray skinned, I think.
Yeah, gray.
Yeah, the thing they looked but yeah, but I think with Jackson's orcs, they look less like a race of people and more just like mutants, like just mutated monsters.
Yeah.
Which isn't too much of a departure, I guess, from what they are. But I always kind of thought of orcs as like a people. They're a bad people, right? But there's still still a consistency, I think, to their what they are as creatures.
I think these are supposed to be the
orange ones.
Yeah.
They don't look orange to me. They look gold.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right because they have that shading on them.
I thought that they were more like this.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Free Narnia. I mean, they gave them the elf ears.
Yeah.
Right. So that was a really good thing that they came up with the elf ears, because that kind of was just a nice visual cue to say, hey, this isn't a human. Mm-hmm. It's a different kind of creature. You know, right, and they gave the hobbits elf ears too. So you could tell even close up, because you can't always put a hobbit next to a big person to show that they're a little hobbit.
Yeah.
So it was a nice way to show that, hey, this is not a human creature.
What's your opinion on the animated Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, we actually just got a hold of it on DVD. They had it at Target along with the Rankin Bass Return of the King. So I've only seen the Bakshi Lord of the Rings once. I watched it like on YouTube. Somebody had uploaded it in a bunch of pieces, and I thought it was overall bad, but frustrating because it alternated between stuff that was like really, really good and really, really awful. So definitely interesting.
I haven't seen it, except piecemeal for class. But yeah, we were in Target and there it was, sitting on the one of them was marked online only, so someone had bought it and returned it.
Yeah, I think somebody bought them online and returned them. So
that was a fun find.
I've only seen pieces of it, so I was just curious to know what your
do you want
take
to do
on
the
it
blue
was.
ones and I'll work on this?
Sure. Yeah, no, I saw the whole thing, and it's definitely worth watching if you are a Lord of the Rings fan. But there's a lot that I don't like about it. I think overall the painted backgrounds are look like garbage. They're not attractive at all, especially the stuff in the Shire. Just looks like garbage. They make some really weird choices, like they call Saruman Ahriman instead of Saruman.
To make it not sound like Sauron.
Yeah, which is understandable because I mean, when I was first reading Lord of the Rings, that really confused me. But then I feel like they don't do it consistently. So there's once or twice in the film where they call him Saruman with an S. And then I think the biggest problem is it moves way too fast. You know, there's not really any time to give appropriately to anything. So, you know, I mean, because the movie, it goes all the way through the Battle of Helm's Deep.
Yeah, it's the first 2 books.
Yeah,
it's always been just like an interesting artifact that it doesn't go through the whole story, and then Rankin Bass only do The Hobbit and then the end.
Yeah,
Lord of the Rings, right?
Katie, it doesn't go through the first 2 books because the Two Towers the book goes farther than the Two Towers movie.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the first 2 movies.
Yeah.
But not the first 2 books, right? Because they don't get into Cirith Ungol or anything past the Battle of Helm's Deep.
Doesn't the Two Towers book kind of end with the battle? No, it doesn't. You're right.
It doesn't.
They get to Cirith Ungol in the book.
The Two Towers book ends with Sam fighting against Shelob.
Yep. But so they basically end with the
they end where the Jackson movie ends.
Yeah, it ends roughly the same place that the Peter Jackson movie Two Towers ends.
Yeah, but like with the storyline for book 5 or book. Now I'm confused. Book 3.
I don't know
the with following Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli, their storyline.
Yeah, but they follow, if I remember right, they follow Frodo and Sam and Gollum too.
Well, yeah, because the movies don't ever split them the way that the books do.
Yeah, but they don't do anything after Helm's Deep, and they don't get into Shelob at all.
Oh, so then Shelob is skipped over because the Rankin Bass Return of the King starts that Frodo is in the tower of Cirith Ungol.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yep. And so Shelob is missing from the animated Tolkien verse.
Yeah, I don't think it's in the Bakshi Lord of the Rings, if I remember right. Let me check.
A little interesting trivia there. But yeah, I have seen both the Rankin Bass ones, and I like them a lot. I even Return of the King, I like it for being still in the spirit of The Hobbit, in that it is very committed to being a fairy tale, and it looks and feels and sounds exactly how a fairy tale should, in my opinion, and so I appreciate it a lot on that level. A lot of people have a lot to say about the Witch King sounding like Starscream, but I just accept that, and I don't really have I don't see silliness where a lot of people see silliness.
No.
Things.
We haven't seen that one yet, so I'm anxious to watch that one.
Oh,
And,
okay.
but we have like a storybook version of it, and the art, the visual aspect of it looks really gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, the Bakshi Lord of the Rings just does not look very good overall. There's some things that look really good, and the cool part about it is there are specific things that Jackson just like straight up took from there, and it's some of the best stuff in the Jackson Lord of the Rings.
Mm.
Like the scene where the Inn and Bree, when the Black Riders come in and they all stand over their beds and then they like plunge the daggers down, but they're gone already. That's in the Bakshi Lord of the Rings.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I had heard that Jackson lifted a lot of stuff from. That's interesting to know.
And then the other part that's really cool is I really like how the ring wraiths look. When Frodo puts on the ring, he can like see they have like these more intricate costumes and helmets and stuff underneath, and they look really creepy and really cool. Overall, though, there's like a lot of rotoscoping in that movie, and it looks bad. Like it just looks like you put a colored filter over. Some of it just looks like you put a colored filter over film, where it doesn't look animated anymore. So I don't know. It's just like a really mixed bag, but mostly bad.
Rotoscoping is so odd to me. Like,
I'm not a big fan of it. I know lots of people are, especially in Fire and Ice. A lot of people describe that as like a masterpiece. And rotoscoping is fine. I suppose it's not my first choice in terms of like what I'd say. Like this is animation that I really love.
Yeah. Well, like it works occasionally. Like we were watching
Secret of
NIMH
last night. Actually, yeah, last couple nights we watched it with our kids.
Yeah. And
there's some rotoscoping in there that looks quite bad and some that looks quite good.
But
so
like
it goes both ways.
Like the one where I noticed it, right, was the tractor. And it's like the tractor is already supposed to be intimidating, kind of scary, kind of out alien, of place feeling. So it worked.
Yeah.
But like the rotoscoping of the bell in Robin Hood, like you couldn't just make a bell, right? Like in your all of the animation, and it was so out of place there.
Wasn't the original Walt Disney Snow White rotoscoped? Is that right?
They really heavily used reference for a lot of that stuff.
Okay.
They did for a lot of the princess movies. They would have actors and they would film them and then they would base the animation.
Yeah. So it was like motion referenced animation.
Yeah.
But not traced over or not like colorized film.
Like if you're familiar with The Little Mermaid at all, when Ariel like blows her hair out like off of her forehead. Like that is something that the actress did.
Flexes and sticks out her boobs.
These are really interesting little shelf mushrooms.
Where's the other one?
Where's the other what?
Should be another one.
Right here?
There we go. Yeah, the Bakshi Lord of the Rings, a lot of the rotoscoping, it literally just looks like you took some film and just put a colored filter over it.
Yeah.
During a lot of the fight scenes, Boromir and Aragorn just looks like a filmed guy fighting. It's really not good.
Yeah, I've seen several of those scenes.
The Balrog just looks like trash.
Yes, that's what I've seen that scene. The Balrog looks really odd. Just flying around.
Yeah.
like why? Don't do that.
There's other weird choices like the fire of Orthanc at Helm's Deep.
It's yes, does it like it like shoots out of the tower, right?
Yeah, it shoots out of Orthanc and goes all the way over to Helm's Deep. like Saruman is like conjuring at the top of, and Orthanc just looks really weird in that movie too. It's like a pyramid. It's like this like really sketchy like low pyramid. I mean, it looks more like a real tower than what's in the Jackson movies. Probably potentially more book accurate, but it's like it's like he's like on this top of this little pyramid and he's like shooting this magic all the way over to Helm's Deep, hundreds of miles away.
That's
or 100 miles away, and it's not hundreds.
It's not. I don't think it's that far, but
that's very sword and sorcery, right? To just be like shooting energy blasts.
Yeah.
Literally just go. Imagine being some guy in between and just looking up and going, "What?" right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think some of the orcs look cool in the Bakshi from what I've seen. I think so. Some of them come out looking pretty appropriately fearsome.
Mm-hmm.
Doug Wise has been commenting, and I just have not been super attentive, and I apologize. He said it's probably okay for an animation to skip Shelob.
Yeah.
And then Guilty Gearhead, hey, says Secret of Nim was a good movie. Watched it a couple of times. So the first time I saw it, I was really bothered by the fact that there was magic, and David was just like, well, it's just different from the book. Like, just get over it. It's cool. And this time I found it a lot more tolerable, this watch through, but it still bothers me.
What I noticed is that the rats have a lot of magic that you see. So it's not really it's not like something that comes out of nowhere at the end.
Yeah.
And you there's a lot of stuff. Have you seen Secret of Nim, Free Narnian?
No, I have not.
Okay, have you read the book?
Nope.
Okay.
It's a property that I never interacted with.
Yeah, it's really cool. Both the book and the movie are really good.
Speaking of like odd name changes for the sake of who knows what.
Well, no, there's a good reason for it.
Okay, what is it?
So the name of the book is Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim.
Mm-hmm.
They changed her name to Mrs. Brisby in the movie and changed the title to Secret of Nim because they were worried about copyright infringement against frisbees.
Huh. Oh, okay, like literal frisbees.
Yeah, like the frisbee disc.
But like you can't copyright titles.
Well, yeah, and maybe that's the problem. They wanted to copyright the title of their movie, and it was like trademarked. I don't know the exact ins and outs of it, but that's why they changed it.
Okay.
Secret, yeah, I get that. I know of it. I get it confused with Redwall, because that's another one that I know people really like, but I never saw that.
Yeah, they're kind of similar. Secret of Nim takes place in our real world, and there's human characters. Yeah. There's humans in it.
Okay.
And one of the neat things about it is there's sort of an explanation for why the animals are smart in it.
Yeah.
That kind of brings it almost into like science fiction territory. Which is cool. But yeah, in the movie, there's nothing really supernatural in the book other than the fact that the animals, speak English, and can talk amongst themselves. In the movie, there's a lot of magic too, and it's kind of implied that like the rats, the skill that sort of gives them the ability to build technology, also kind of gives them magic skills.
I would not say that it's implied at all.
Oh, yeah. There's other interesting things that they do in the movie, like they sort of imply that
I'm gonna do 2 of these and 3 of these. So if you want to do one, just let me know. Do you want to do these 2?
Sure, I'll do.
And I'll do these.
Yeah. It's sort of implied in the movie that Nicodemus and the owl are the same person.
What?
Yeah. Did you not pick up on that?
No.
Yeah.
I even told Remy that no, that's not. She asked. I was like, no, they just have the same eyes.
So in the book and the movie, there's like this owl, and then there's also this really old rat. And one of the weird things that the movie does is that they look very similar. Like they both have this kind of mustache. They have these sort of cobwebby. They have these glowing eyes, and their hands kind of look the same.
They do.
So the movie kind of implies, for no real reason, that they're the same character, that they're like the same
for the exact
person.
Same reason that there's magic.
But see, this is what I like about Secret of Nim, is that basically the whole reason for that movie existing is that they just wanted to make something cool and interesting, and you can see that basically in every frame of that movie, that they're just trying to do something cool.
Well, at least they're doing something cool and not something stupid with the adaptation. I mean, if you're going to adapt something, I think you should do it right. But if you're going to do it wrong, at least you're doing it in a cool way.
It's not wrong. It's
not an adaptation then. Well, no, I get what you're saying.
It's an interesting adaptation.
Yeah.
They took the source material and they kind of took it in a direction that I think is sort of internally consistent. It's not necessarily consistent with the adaptation, but it's not consistent with the source material, but it's internally consistent.
Okay.
And it's interesting.
Yeah.
And what the story behind that movie is that it's a bunch of Disney animators who were bored at Disney and they wanted to do something cool. So they just did all this crazy stuff. They used all these crazy animation techniques and built computer controlled rigs for parallax scrolling and used colored gels and crazy lighting and all this stuff. So much of that movie is just about like how can we push the envelope? And I think that's cool. I think that's worth something.
It sounds very interesting. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite movies, and it's also a movie that people cite often in lists of like movies that traumatized me as a child. and
so of course we showed it to our daughter.
And watching it again, I'm like, yeah, this movie is quite intense. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily more intense than other stuff that we showed her, but you see there's like a lot of death in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of death.
There's like fighting with swords, and then there's red, and they don't really do that too much.
There's magic anymore. And it's quite intense. They really lean into some of the horror aspects of things, like the owls. The inside of the owl's tree is really creepy.
The cat is kind of scary too.
Yeah,
that cat. Okay, that's end of 19.
Look at that, beautiful. Excellent. It's just a very intense movie, and it's a very beautiful movie. So it's definitely one that's worth watching if you like animation.
Doug Wise says, "I was under the impression you can't do cool stuff. You can only do stuff to get paid."
Oh yeah.
I know, yeah. Imagine a time where Disney was full of people who were like innovative and imaginative. Mm-hmm. What a world.
Crazy.
I think I want to say Bluth worked on The Rescuers.
He did.
Which is another one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, I'm looking up images of it. I noticed that it seems like a very similar. That one I did see. That's the one where they go
depending on which one you saw. There's 2.
Oh boy. I remember a mouse husband and wife and a bird, and they save some kid from like a poacher, I think.
That's Rescuers Down Under.
Down Under.
Okay. That's what I saw.
The original Rescuers, it's really cool. They save the plot basically is this little girl was kidnapped and taken by this. The villain is like this middle-aged evil woman who is like a pawn shop owner. She gets kidnapped. She kidnaps this orphan and takes her down to the swamp, like the bayou, and they live in this rotting out steamboat. And she kidnapped the little girl because she needs to get this diamond out of this really tight cave. So she's sending the little girl in to get this diamond out. And the mice from the Rescue Aid Society have to save her. And it's great. There's a lot of like politically incorrect animals that all help them out at the end.
Yeah.
Man,
there's one of them is a Confederate veteran.
Yeah, it's like a tortoise that's wearing like a Confederate like Civil War cap. Yeah, it's really great, and the cave stuff is super evocative. I love caves, and caves figure a lot into a lot of my own creative work, and I would trace a lot of that back to the Rescuers read along book that I had when I was a kid. I never saw the movie until I was an adult, but the book I read was like super evocative, because they lower this little girl like in a pail on a rope. Yep. Down into this like narrow hole, and there's like a cave inside that she has to explore and try to get this diamond out of the skull. It's just so cool.
Yeah, that's a good one. It has a very different feel to it than the Down Under one, although they have like a similar idea, right? Mm-hmm. Where like these mice go and save a kid. Mm-hmm. It's just a very different tone.
Yeah, and Secret of NIMH is a very different movie from either of those.
Yeah,
yep. Rescuers and Secret of NIMH back to back would be a really cool double feature.
Yeah.
Sometime.
Guilty Gear Head says the build looks great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm impressed. I wasn't sure how these trees would look. Sometimes Lego
trees are so hit or miss.
But they look good.
No, those look very fantastical. Like you get an otherworldly kind of.
Mm-hmm.
This is the bonsai, which I have separated so that I can use it in my.
It uses frogs.
Yeah.
For leaves.
But each one of these is exactly the same. It was like a build for adults, and it's just the most inane. Boring build ever. Doug Wise says, I never picked up on that, but there are a bajillion caves in Uriel's Revenge.
Yeah. At least 2. I forget if there's more. Well, no, there's 3. Yeah, there's a jillion.
Here's another tree build. Very nice.
Yeah, flat.
I've done a lot of trees actually for various sets. Here's another one.
That's a good one.
This is a pretty good one. It's a little more 3-dimensional.
I like the little mushroom.
This has some nice mushrooms.
Yeah.
I think we did a lot of them the other time, but
yeah.
It really is nice how fleshed out around. Oh, and so the forge ended up being actually outdoors. So there's like a workshop area inside, but the
are we
flames
doing more with that interior?
The flames of the forge and the anvil are outside.
Well, that's good, because then they're a bit more visible that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can set up. No.
What is it with mushrooms?
Put the lid on it.
Like, it's such a great way to make to complete a foresty fantasy environment, to put mushrooms in it.
Well, it gives it that sort of undercurrent of not everything is like sunny and perfect and nice. Mm. There's that sort of not necessarily like decay, but like you associate them with like poison and.
You can take Doug's comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, and fairies, right? So I think
fairy rings.
People would all the druggies would say that goes back to is it mascara? Like the classic red mushroom with the white dots.
Yeah.
Fly agaric, is like a hallucinogen. So in a lot of like European folklore and art, it's pictured with fairies.
Sure.
And then something I just thought of is that mushrooms are a good thing that you can make bigger to make something look fantastical.
Sure.
Because most of the time we see just very small mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like if you make a mushroom big, like even these, it makes it look fantasy-esque.
Yeah.
To have them big. Whereas like you can't really scale it. Like there's trees that come in all sizes, like making a tree bigger or a flower bigger doesn't automatically look as fantastical as if you have like a mushroom that gets bigger.
Doug Wise says mushrooms mean it's wet.
Yeah.
Very straightforward. Well, should we close this up?
Yeah, we need to get to bed. It's too late.
What time is it? Oh, 12.
Yep.
22.
Too late.
Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us again. Free Narnian.
No, of course. I'm all happy to be here. It's great. I think it's good to put stuff like this into the world. I think the world needs a chill stream.
Yeah, it was very, very satisfying build today.
I feel like we're making some progress. For several times there, we were just kind of.
It was very flat looking.
Really flat, not much recognizable stuff coming together, but this is great. It's really starting to feel like we have something here.
Yeah.
So I guess the last part will be the middle part that has the actual Council of Elrond area in it, and another big chunk of the building. So that'll be a cool thing to end with.
Yeah, and this is the very next thing will be the platform and then the gazebo. So
not really too much more. This is all probably just another couple bags.
Yeah,
I bet we can do the platform and the gazebo in the next stream.
I think so. Yeah,
and that's going to be one of the most interesting parts of this, because that gazebo is all circular.
Yeah, like circular technic
stuff. So that'll be fun.
All right.
Well, thanks again for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks, Free Narnian. Thanks everyone else who hung out with us. It really makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's always a great time.
Yep. Hope everyone else has a good evening.
Yep. Night.
Good night.